It's always a blast to, to, to be able to welcome you and then ask you to come again. We don't say goodbye. We want you to come back again and immerse yourself in our ways and teach us new ways. The community has been behind us through thick and thin, and I think it's only apt for us to bring you time and time again, and hopefully it won't be too long before we have another exciting H2O World event. There's a couple of pieces that we didn't necessarily want to expose in the morning. One was a piece around augmentation. We had team has been building prolifically ability to bring in data sets that are not definitely the ones after essentially once you've eked out the latest greatest performance across all models and all feature engineering, you want to go and add new data sets, adding and augmenting new data for place, for time, entities, names. On top of the base data, new dimensions has definitely the most bang for the buck. We noticed this actually in one of the projects Mark was working on, and he augmented essentially exchange rate fluctuations between Canadian dollar and the US dollar. And then we quickly found out that that's an external data set, but it had such big impact. And so then we slowly wanted to make that part of driverless AI, because most companies have data sets beyond their base data. They have data lakes full of data that they may or may not be using. So augmentation gives that extra leg up for folks. So now, and the team has been busy building this, where, as you can see, it augmented holiday data on top of the date, and then you start seeing some interesting pieces. Obviously, this augmented data can then, you run the model and see the highlighted elements here are showing how an augmented field improved the accuracy of the model. So, the second interesting piece of innovation that has been occupying some of our folks is Puddle. Puddle is actually, obviously folks have asked time and time again if we have a cloud edition of the product. And this is obviously Jeff Gambera has been building, let me just give a name here. A system that allows folks to start building cloud instances on the fly and start running. This would be another quick way for folks to do proof of concepts, test out things without extensive investments on their front. And the third one, which you all have played with, is Aquarium. Most of you have seen this. It's a fantastic way to get trained, train your colleagues, expand the usage beyond the first user. These are things that remained as part of the innovation that the team built up as we came close to the finish line for the H2O World. With that, I think we have seen enough product for the day. I've seen a tremendous amount of talks across the board. I do have 2 slides. I promise not too many. The first one is how do we go from correlation to causality? I think this is still the core of the problem at hand. A large part of data science picks up good correlation, and then we are still chasing causality. And I think that's something that is one of the essence of the art of doing more science. It's not too far from appearance and truth, right? The appearance of what is looking in the narrow near term and the truth of the reality. As closing remarks, I would say this was a phenomenal event for us. We really enjoyed it. We were immersed. And of all, I mean, I see a ton of H2O makers in the audience. Each one of you worked tirelessly to make this happen. Certainly, Ian and team have been at it ever since H2O World London ended. They've been beginning to build up the momentum for this. I thoroughly enjoyed Dan and Tanya's talk this morning, as did several of you. Would love to have them come up briefly for, I mean, I think you have a Q&A session at dinner, possibly. There's a ton of folks reached out, but we definitely want to encourage more of H2O makers to collaborate with you and bring change that you want to see in the wildlife side. So, clearly, several of the data science talks, some I attended briefly, have been filled with lots and lots of new ideas for product innovation as well as feedback. So please continue to send your feedback. One of the things I've been toying with the team is how to take the aquarium and create a more online H2O world so we can continue the conversations as a social network online. Of course, social networks have been misused in the past, but we can certainly continue H2O world conversation online until we meet the next time. The stage that we have set is San Francisco, and if I turn back time, I was 2007 is probably the time when I took time between startups, and I was thinking about what big problems I can invest in. And it was actually quite, I had to go to India to attend my brother's wedding. And the wedding was great, and little did we know that my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She's here in the audience, a proud survivor, a courageous, bold survivor. I had an argument with the doctor, and it was interesting. And it was about lumpectomy and mastectomy. And my brother voted on what she chose, which was eventually lumpectomy. But that led me to dig up the paper that was published. And it was using really, really small data. And that led me to say, well, let's work on a tool chain to fix the problem as opposed to the problem. I mean, you could have dug deeper into it. Put the mic. And the stage is named after Mariam and Curie. Ian is an amazing, he's mastered this. Okay. We were trying to find Mary Curie. Mariam is Mary in Iranian. And so Mariam Curie, both of whom were killed by cancer, and one taken away quite prematurely at 40, the Fields medalist. Yesterday was World Cancer Day. And like the tiger in the pie, in the life of Pi, cancer keeps us wanting to invent new stuff. And that led to H2O eventually. And Curie, of course, knew she would get killed by cancer. She was more bold bolder than most of us anyway. She knew that radioactivity will kill her, but she wanted to find it. She still wanted to discover and make that case for the rest of us. And of course, that inspired her son-in-law and daughter to go on to win Nobel Prize. It's probably the one family with more Nobel Prizes than anyone else. But anyway, I would love for my mom to say a few words. She taught me most everything. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Anyhow, I speak on behalf of her. I'm really proud of Sri reaching to this position. I'm really feel happy if he does more to uplift the generation, like AI and other things. By seeing Sri, I myself joined Stanford University for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. My idea is my grandchildren should know their grandfather, me, studied in a good institution, and they also come to the level of my sons. I'm she is the first teacher for him, although I was a math teacher for him in the regular school and other things. So our ambition was he should become IAS. We trained up him in 8th class itself, if he remembers that we used to bring so many material required for IAS and other thing. So when he has taken IIT, biological sciences, I brought him in engineering side because I'm a maths teacher. So I'm a maths teacher. I know the importance of maths, even the computer science, anything. It's all depend upon mathematics only. Maths. Everything is maths. I am seeing here also in US, the children, or many of them, they don't know to calculate odds ratio, doing some experiment, other thing. If they give the problem in the classroom, A by B divided by C by D, they don't know how to do that much. So everybody feels like that.
One of the interesting things I haven't shared about my parents is they were married reasonably young, and it's an arranged marriage, obviously, in the 70s. So he asked an interview question in the arranged marriage. Do you want to?
Anyhow,
the question was. The question was, what is sine square theta plus cos square theta? So you can imagine, and she answered it as 1. And so, true story. I didn't make it up on the slide. It is a true story. In 1972, these people meet for an arranged marriage, and his first question is, what sine square theta plus cos square theta? So it's certainly, they would if Kaggle existed then. But my father obviously is courageous, but when the doctor told us about the diagnosis, he was in tears. I'm sure a lot of you and a lot of people out there are alone fighting this amazing, disruptive disease, right? If you will, cancer is our generation's revolution to fight. It may not be, if we don't fight it, we might at least want to understand it, able to at least harness this cell that refuses to die. But clearly, the journey that got us here sparked under that same pressure. And folks in the company, in the audience, are all fighting this on their own. And we don't want to fight it by taking a chemotherapy. That's too late. We want to fight this with science. We want to inspire our generation of community users to not just save lives in their day-to-day world, but think about the bigger problems, such as these. What data can I augment to go to the next level on that problem? And H2O is obviously a function of its people inside, not just the company, the community. I have run into folks, we have actually had talks, even the first conference we have had talks on this topic. But I would probably put it back on the H2O World organizing team to now generate and challenge the community to come back with good applications of this technology, especially driverless AI is such a powerful technology. I've run into so many stories in the audience and in the hallways where it has solved problems that typically would take superhuman effort to solve almost magically. So now is the time to take a tool chain like this and attack a problem that has been beating the best minds of our time. For the last hundreds of years, we have not solved this problem, and it remains a problem. It's not something we can ignore. I am fortunate that my mom was courageous enough to fight it by herself. Not many of us are in the same level of fortune. So I would definitely encourage the team to think about ways, our own team and the extended community, which is part of our team, and the customer community and the partner community, to come together and create a way to take the torch forward. This is a problem we cannot ignore. This is our problem. And we are data scientists. We like to solve problems. That's our job. That's our fun. That will be fun. And one day when this is happening, we'll sit down in the audience and say, well, it all started on one evening in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. I wish this particular tree of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these things he should develop still more, and more number of people all over the world utilize this particular concept. I'm really happy, very, very happy we both are by seeing Sri to develop his own particular AI and other driverless AIs and other things. I wish once more for a good, many more things as a father, as a parent, we should hear from him.
I'll take a picture.
Thank you.
One of the lesser known things about my dad is he's an amazing math teacher and prolific students. A teacher is known by the students they make. In the last count, the Forbes top 10 CEOs, 3 of them are actually disciples of his, or generated from the disciples of his. The CEO of Microsoft, CEO of MasterCard, and the CEO of Adobe. All. So, I'm a distant somewhere, but fortunately, I get access to him as his son. All right, with that goal setting for us, right? We'll come back at the next H2O World and see if we've created an afternoon of just onco talks, onco science, right? Well, that's good. We'll do that, New York. Let me now take this opportunity to thank the amazing audience from San Francisco for sticking around for our long day, 2 days of H2O, data science, and data and AI and immersion. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Ian and team, for making an amazing event possible. Ian is the master of ceremonies of H2O. If there's a chief master of ceremonies, we can add a CMC, but we don't want that. MCMCs. But I kid you not, on the eve of the first week of January, he comes up to my office and says, maybe we will not have the audience that we need, Sri. Maybe we can move this. I said, no, persevere one more week. If you cross this mark, which was like a third of, or a fourth, or a fifth of what happened eventually, we should pursue. And from that day, I believe Josephine and the rest of the team, everyone in the community and the meetups, we had a juggernaut of attendance growth right after the New Year's. Before you know, we had the largest H2O world to date. Absolutely. Congrats.
So I remember my first H2O World in Mountain View was about 400 people, so it's incredible to see this amounts of attendees here in San Francisco. I just wanted to thank our speakers, community, customers, panelists for attending today and making this a success. I'd also like to bring up a few members of the H2O World team. Without them, we couldn't make this a success. So Shabar Pula, please come to stage. SK, Garb Kumar, please come on stage. Patrick Moran, please come on stage. Bruna Smith, where are you at? Please come on stage. Ms. Ingrid Burton, please come on stage. I'm going to have them say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. It's a joy to do all this with everyone and work with you, Sri, of course, and you've been so lovely. Thank you again.
A deep-hearted thank you, all of you, for coming.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Obrigada.
Hey, thank you everyone for coming. We're so thrilled to have you and to be part of this community and to drive forward. And I love Shri's mission. We need to have our moonshot in AI, and I think he just set the ground forward for us. So I think the challenge is out there. We need to make it happen. So thank you, Shri. Thank you for everything, for making all of this possible. I think we owe a big thank you to you personally.
Well, I mean, I guess it begs the question of what if the biggest problems or the best problems of our times are just but a Kaggle contest, right? Without further ado, I want to invite H2O team, which has been working tirelessly. The folks on the stage have been working, moving the bits and the pieces and getting the whole organization going. But every one of the audience has been working through the speakers, have been working through the content, and there's some amazing amount of content that was created this 2 days. Let me invite all the grandmasters, all the fellows, all of the H2O makers on stage for a group picture. We have the right size stage though for this time. Good job. Oh, wow. People are living. It's a 3D.
Just do it, Joe.
Do it, do it.
Just do it. Yeah, look at that.
Just 1 second. Okay. Thank you. And at this time, we close H2O World 2019. See you very soon.